Commander Zixhall stared at the blue and green planet through the viewing screen of his ship. The crystalline spikes on his back glowed soft purple, showing he was calm. This was supposed to be an easy mission. Earth was listed as a death world in the Galactic Council files. Death worlds were simple to understand. Dangerous planets made dangerous creatures. Those creatures were usually primitive and fought each other for survival. "Commander, we are picking up strange signals from the surface," said Science Officer Kelvar. Her crystal body flickered with confusion colors. The inhabitants appear to be singing. Zixhall's spikes turned orange. That meant surprise. Singing? During what kind of ritual? Unknown, sir. The weather systems show a massive storm approaching their location. Category 3 hurricane, according to their measurements. But they are not seeking shelter. The commander moved closer to the screen. His people, the Veltar, came from a quiet world with gentle rains and soft winds. They wore protective suits, even in their own climate-controlled ships. The idea of staying outside during a hurricane seemed insane. "Show me," he ordered. The screen changed to show a beach on the planet's surface. Massive waves crashed against the shore. The wind was so strong it bent palm trees almost to the ground. Rain fell sideways. Lightning split the dark sky. Any sane creature would hide underground until the storm passed. Instead, humans were playing in the water. A man with dark hair and a bright smile rode the huge waves on a small board. He whooped with joy as a wave bigger than the Veltar ship lifted him high into the air. Near the shore, a woman with blonde hair laughed as she dove under the crashing waves. Other humans stood on the beach, pointing and cheering. "Are they in distress?" asked Kelvar. "Should we rescue them?" Zixhall watched the humans more closely. The man on the board, his ship's computer identified him as Jake Morrison, paddled back out to catch another wave. He did not look scared. He looked happy. "Very happy, I think," the commander said slowly. "They are doing this on purpose." The Veltar crew made shocked crystal sounds. Their spikes all turned bright red at once. "Impossible," whispered Communications Officer Threndall. No species volunteers to face death for entertainment, but as they watched, more humans arrived at the beach. They carried more boards. A woman the computer called Lisa Carter ran into the violent water while laughing. She dove under a wave that could have crushed her and came up smiling. Zixhall ordered his ship to land behind some trees. He needed to understand what was happening. His people put on their heaviest protective suits and stepped onto the beach. The wind almost knocked them over immediately. Their suits beeped warnings about dangerous conditions. Jake Morrison rode a wave almost to their feet. When he saw the aliens, he did not run away screaming. Instead, he waved. "Hey there," he called, out, dragging his board onto the sand. "You guys picked a great day for the beach. Waves are perfect." The Veltar translator struggled with his words. Perfect. The storm was perfect. Lisa Carter jogged over, water dripping from her hair. "First, time surfing in a hurricane? It's amazing, right? The adrenaline rush is incredible." Kelvar's suit was beeping so loudly she could barely hear. "Humans," she said through the translator. "You are in terrible danger. This storm could kill you. We have come to rescue you." Jake and Lisa looked at each other and laughed. "Kill us?" Jake grinned. "This is just a Category 3. We don't even evacuate until it hits Category 4. Want to try it? I have an extra board." "But the wind speed is over 100 miles per hour, protested Threndall. "The waves are 30 feet high. The water temperature could cause hypothermia." "That's what makes it fun," Lisa said. She pointed to the massive waves. "Look at that beauty. You can't get waves like this on a calm day." More humans were arriving. They set up grills and started cooking food. The smell of burning meat filled the air. Children ran around laughing while their parents cooked. In the middle of a hurricane, an older man walked over to the aliens. The computer identified him as Tom Patterson, age 67. "You folks look worried," he said kindly. "Here, try some barbecue. Nothing beats storm grilling. The wind makes the fire burn hotter." He handed them plates of cooked meat. The Veltar stared at it. These humans were having a party during a natural disaster. "Sir," Kelvar whispered to her commander, "I think they live here by choice." Zixhal watched a human child, maybe 8 years old, build a sandcastle while waves crashed nearby. The child's name was Billy Cooper. He should have been terrified. Instead, he was humming a happy song. "Commander," came a voice from their ship. "We are also receiving reports from other locations. A group of humans in a place called Yellowstone are camping in sub-zero temperatures. They appear to be cooking food using volcanic heat sources." The commander's spikes turned deep blue, which meant he was thinking very hard. "Show me." The screen split to show a snowy landscape. Steam rose from hot springs. The temperature readings made the Veltar suits beep danger warnings. But there, next to the deadly hot springs, humans had set up tents. A man called Ben Taylor was roasting something over the volcanic heat. A woman named Kelly Davis took pictures of the steam. They wore only thin clothing in weather that would freeze Veltar blood in minutes. "The water temperature is over 200 degrees, reported the ship. "The air temperature is -20 degrees. They should be dead." But the humans looked comfortable, happy even. "Look at this view," Kelly said to her companion. "Isn't it beautiful? I love winter camping." Ben nodded, turning his food over the volcanic heat. "Nothing like fresh air and natural hot springs. This is the life." Back on the beach, the hurricane was getting stronger. The humans were getting more excited. "This is it," yelled Jake, grabbing his board. "The big set is coming in." He ran back into the water as waves the size of buildings approached the shore. Lisa and a dozen other surfers followed him. They paddled directly toward the massive walls of water. Zixhal had seen enough. These creatures had not just survived their death world. They had made friends with it. They played with hurricanes. They camped in volcanic winter zones. They treated deadly storms like entertainment. "Return to the ship," he ordered his crew. "I need to make a report." As they walked back to their vessel, little Billy Cooper ran up to them. "Hey, Mr. Aliens," he called out. "You're leaving? The storm's just getting good. Want some marshmallows? We're gonna roast them when the lightning gets closer." The child held out white fluffy things on sticks. He wanted to cook food using electricity from the sky. Zixhal's spikes turned every color at once. On his homeworld, that meant complete confusion. Once safely inside their ship, the commander sat down heavily. His crew stared at him, waiting for orders. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he said finally. "Earth is not a normal death world. These humans, they have made their planet into something else, something we do not understand." "What should we tell them, sir?" asked Kelvar. Zixhal looked back at the screen showing the beach. The humans were still playing in the hurricane, still laughing, still treating certain death like a weekend hobby. "Tell them," he said slowly, "that we have found the strangest species in the galaxy, and we need help understanding them." The message was sent to the Galactic Council that night. It would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about death worlds, survival, and the strange creatures called humans. Dr. Keth Mori floated in her water-filled suit as her ship approached Earth. The aquatic depth scientist had studied dangerous life forms across the galaxy for 50 years. She knew how to handle deadly predators. Her team included Captain Vexandra, a warrior from the Krillian species who had fought in 3 galactic wars. Together, they would solve the mystery of human survival. "Commander Zixhal's report makes no sense," Captain Vexandra growled through her breathing mask. Her red skin showed battle scars from countless fights. "No species plays with death. These humans must have special armor or weapons we cannot see." Dr. Kethamori's tentacles moved in patterns that meant disagreement. "The Veltar are good observers. If they say humans face danger without protection, then we must study how this is possible." Their ship landed near a place called the Bahamas. The ship's computer had detected large predatory fish in the area, perfect for studying human survival techniques. What they found instead was a television crew filming something called Shark Week. Dr. Amy Roberts floated in the clear blue water wearing only thin fabric clothing. Below her, 3 massive great white sharks swam in lazy circles. Each shark was longer than the aliens' landing craft. Their teeth could cut through ship armor. The aliens watched from their heavily armored observation pod as Dr. Roberts swam directly toward the largest shark. "She must have a death wish," whispered Captain Vexandra. "Those creatures are apex predators. One bite would end her." But Dr. Roberts did not look afraid. She moved calmly through the water until she was close enough to touch the shark. Then she did touch it. She ran her bare hand along its side like she was petting a small animal. "Beautiful girl," they heard her say through their water microphones. "Look at those perfect teeth." The shark, which should have attacked immediately, just swam past her. It almost seemed to enjoy being touched. Dr. Kethmory's water suit bubbled with confusion. This cannot be normal predator behavior. On the surface, a boat waited with more humans and camera equipment. A man called Director Paul Martinez filmed everything. He showed no concern for Dr. Roberts swimming with the deadly sharks. "Amy's a natural," he told his camera operator. 20 years working with sharks and never been bitten. She says they're just misunderstood." More sharks appeared. Tiger sharks with stripes like military camouflage. Bull sharks with thick, powerful bodies. Each one was a perfect killing machine. Dr. Roberts greeted them all like old friends. "Hey, gorgeous," she said to a tiger shark. "Want some fish?" She pulled out a dead fish and held it toward the shark. The massive predator took the food gently from her hand. Its teeth, each one sharp as a knife, never touched her skin. Captain Vexandra's battle instinct screamed danger warnings. "She is hand-feeding monsters that could swallow her whole. How is she still alive?" The answer came when Dr. Roberts swam back to the surface. The aliens listened to her interview with the film crew. "People think sharks are mindless killers," she explained, water dripping from her hair. "But they're intelligent animals. They have personalities. That big female down there, I call her Martha. She recognizes me now. We have a relationship." The aliens stared at each other. A relationship with apex predators? This was beyond their understanding. Their confusion grew worse the next day when they followed a different group of humans to something called an extreme sports festival. Tony Martinez stood on top of a 50-story building wearing only a thin jumpsuit. Below him was concrete and steel that would crush any living thing. He had no visible protection except a small parachute pack. "This is insane," he said with a huge smile. "I love it." His girlfriend Kate Williams held a small camera device. "Ready to jump, babe? The wind conditions look perfect." Perfect? The aliens' instruments showed dangerous crosswinds that would make controlled flight impossible for their advanced ships. Tony ran toward the edge of the building. Without hesitation, he jumped. Captain Vexandra grabbed her weapons instinctively. But there was no enemy to fight. Just a human falling toward certain death while laughing with joy. At the last moment, Tony's parachute opened. He landed safely, in a small area marked with colorful fabric. He immediately looked up at the building and shouted, "That was amazing, let's do it again." Kate ran to him with her camera still recording. "How did it feel?" "Like flying," Tony grinned. "Like being totally free, nothing beats that rush." The aliens watched dozens of humans repeat this suicide behavior. Each one landed safely. Each one looked happy. They called it base jumping and treated it like a hobby. These humans appear to have domesticated death itself, Dr. Kethmory reported to her ship. They performed deadly actions for entertainment. The final shock came when they visited a human educational facility called Lincoln Elementary School. They expected to study how humans train their young for survival in harsh conditions. Instead, they found children playing a game called dodgeball. 8-year-old students like Emma Foster and Ryan Clark threw rubber balls at each other as hard as they could. The goal was to hit opponents and eliminate them from the game. Adult supervisor Martha Collins watched approvingly. "This builds character," she explained to a parent, "teaches them to think fast and work as a team." The alien observers watched in horror as small humans dove, rolled, and leaped to avoid flying projectiles. Any civilized species would call this child abuse, but the human children were laughing. "Got you, Ryan," shouted Emma as her ball hit the boy's shoulder. Ryan just grinned. "Good throw. I'll get you next time." When the game ended, the children hugged each other and asked when they could play again. Dr. Kethmori floated in her suit, trying to process what she had seen. Captain, these humans train their children using combat simulations disguised as play. Their scientists swim with apex predators. Their athletes jump from deadly heights for recreation. Captain Vexandra checked her weapons again, though she knew they were useless here. I have fought across the galaxy. I have seen warrior cultures that live for battle, but I have never seen anything like this. That night, Dr. Kethmori sent her report to the Galactic Council. It was short and simple. Humans have evolved beyond normal survival instincts. They seek danger instead of avoiding it. They find joy in activities that would kill most species. They treat their death world like a playground. She paused before adding the final line. Recommend immediate further study. These beings may represent a completely new form of life. The report reached the Galactic Council 3 days later. It caused panic in 17 different star systems. Emergency meetings were called. Military forces were put on alert. Nobody knew what to make of a species that played with death and taught their children to enjoy being hit with projectiles. The humans, meanwhile, continued surfing hurricanes and jumping off buildings. They had no idea they were causing terror across the galaxy simply by having fun on a Tuesday afternoon. Ambassador Thelquist stepped off the transport ship with careful, measured movements. Her people, the Harmony Collective, were known across the galaxy for their peaceful nature and careful planning. She had volunteered for the cultural exchange program because she believed understanding came through patient observation. The Galactic Council had decided that living among humans was the only way to learn their secrets. Ambassador Thelquist expected to study human survival techniques in controlled laboratory conditions. Instead, she found herself assigned to shadow Dr. Elena Rodriguez at Chicago General Hospital. "Welcome to the controlled chaos," Dr. Rodriguez said with a tired smile. She was a small woman with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her white coat was already stained with various substances that made the ambassador's protective suit beep warnings. It was Friday night in downtown Chicago. The ambassador had read about human weekend rituals in her briefing files. She expected quiet reflection and family bonding time. What she got was pure madness. "Trauma Bay 3, motorcycle accident coming in," a nurse shouted across the emergency room. Dr. Rodriguez grabbed her equipment and ran toward the ambulance entrance. Ambassador Thelquist followed, her suit's stabilizers working overtime to keep her upright in the chaos. The patient was a young man named Danny Peters. He had been riding his motorcycle at high speed when he hit a patch of wet road. The ambassador's suit immediately calculated the forces involved in the crash. No living thing should have survived. But Danny was not only alive, he was conscious and talking. "Doc, is my bike okay?" he asked as the medical team checked his injuries. Dr. Rodriguez shook her head while examining his broken arm. "Danny, you have 3 broken ribs, a fractured arm, and road rash over 30% of your body. Why aren't you worried about yourself?" "Because I'm alive." Danny grinned despite his pain. "Did you see that slide? I must have gone 50 feet. On the asphalt. It was like surfing, but on concrete." The ambassador's suit translated his words, but they made no sense. He was describing a near-death experience like it was entertainment. More patients arrived throughout the night. Rock climber Sarah Kim had fallen 30 feet from a cliff face. Instead of being traumatized, she was already planning her next climb. "I just need to work on my grip strength," she told Dr. Rodriguez. "That route is totally doable." Parkour. Athlete Marcus Jones came in with a sprained ankle after attempting to jump between buildings. "Almost made it," he said cheerfully. "Next time I'll get more speed on the approach." Each patient treated their dangerous activities like hobbies. Each one planned to do the same things again as soon as they healed. "Doctor," Ambassador Thelquist asked during a quiet moment, "do these humans not understand they could die?" "Doctor." Rodriguez poured herself coffee from a machine that looked like it belonged in a chemistry lab. "Oh, they understand. That's part of what they love about it. The risk makes them feel alive." The ambassador's peaceful nature made it hard to comprehend such thinking. Her people avoided all unnecessary risks. They planned everything carefully to prevent accidents. The weekend brought new horrors. Ambassador Thelquist was invited to something called a block party in Dr. Rodriguez's neighborhood. The weather reports showed severe thunderstorms approaching, with possible tornadoes. Any civilized species would cancel outdoor gatherings during dangerous weather. The humans threw a bigger party. "Storm's coming," shouted neighborhood organizer Mike Davis, an electrician who worked on power lines for a living. "Perfect timing. Nothing beats dancing in the rain." The ambassador watched in disbelief as humans set up tables and grills outside while dark clouds gathered overhead. Children ran around the street playing games. Adults cooked food on open flames while lightning flashed in the distance. When the rain started, the humans cheered. "This is the best part," yelled neighbor Jennifer Walsh, a teacher who worked with small children all day. She grabbed her husband's hands and started dancing in the middle of the street. Lightning split the sky directly above them. The ambassador's suit went into emergency lockdown mode, sealing her inside protective barriers. The humans started singing. They sang songs about storms and rain and being happy. They splashed in puddles that formed in the street. Some brought out musical instruments and played while water poured down their faces. Thunder crashed so loudly that the ambassador's audio systems temporarily shut down to protect her hearing. The humans whooped and cheered like it was fireworks. "You okay in there?" Dr. Rodriguez tapped on the ambassador's protective shell. "You're missing the best lightning show of the year." Through her suit's sensors, the ambassador could see electrical activity that would kill her people instantly. The humans were dancing directly underneath it. "How are you not dead?" she managed to ask through her suit's communication system. "Statistics," Dr. Rodriguez laughed. "Lightning rarely hits people. And if it does, well, that's what makes it exciting." The final breaking point came the next week when Ambassador Thelquist visited Roosevelt Elementary School. She expected to observe how humans protected their young from their dangerous world. Instead, she found 8-year-old children playing something called King of the Hill during recess. The game involved children trying to climb on top of a small mound of dirt while other children tried to pull them down. It was direct physical combat between developing beings who should have been carefully protected. Teacher Martha Collins supervised while eating something called a sandwich. "Builds confidence," she explained to the horrified ambassador. "Kids need to learn how to handle a little rough and tumble." Student Amy Patterson reached the top of the hill and stood with her arms raised in victory. 3 other children immediately tackled her, sending all 4 tumbling down in a pile of arms and legs. The ambassador expected crying and injury reports. Instead, all 4 children got up laughing and immediately started planning their next attempt. "My turn to be king," shouted student Tommy Wright, already running toward the hill. That afternoon, the ambassador attended a birthday party for 6-year-old Jessica Murphy. The child's parents, Robert and Linda Murphy, brought out a cake covered in small fires. "Make a wish and blow out the candles," they told their daughter. The ambassador watched in shock as the child took a deep breath and blew directly at the flames. Any rational being would run from fire. This human child was attacking it with her breath as part of a celebration ritual. When Jessica successfully extinguished all the flames, the adults cheered and gave her presents. "Fire is part of their joy rituals," the ambassador noted in her daily report. "They light controlled flames and then challenge their young to extinguish them using only exhaled air. Success is rewarded with material goods and social approval." That night, Ambassador Thelquist sat in her temporary quarters and tried to write her final report. Her hands shook as she typed. "Humans have weaponized joy itself," she wrote. "They find happiness in activities that would terrify trained warriors. Their children learn combat through play. Their medical professionals treat near-death experiences as routine. They celebrate storms, dance with lightning, and set their food on fire before eating it." She paused, trying to find words for what she had witnessed. "I request immediate extraction. These beings have transformed survival into entertainment. They have made peace with death and turned it into a friend. I do not understand how this is possible, but I fear what it means for the galaxy." The report was sent that night. Within hours, Ambassador Thelquist was recalled to the Galactic Council's emergency session. The humans threw her a farewell party. It involved cake with fire, music during a rainstorm, and children playing combat games in the yard. She had never been so terrified or so confused in her life. Intelligence analyst Vorthek plugged himself into the Galactic Council's main computer system. His cybernetic brain processed information 1,000 times faster than biological minds. He had analyzed the reports from Earth and found patterns that terrified him. The humans were not just surviving their death world, they were training for war. Council members, Vorthek's electronic voice filled the chamber. I have discovered the truth about human behavior. They are preparing their entire species for galactic conquest. The assembled aliens shifted nervously. Representatives from 47 different worlds had gathered for this emergency meeting. Fear pheromones filled the air from species that communicated through scent. Show us your evidence, demanded Council Leader Zendara, her 3 heads speaking in unison. Vorthek activated the main display screen. First, observe their military conditioning programs disguised as entertainment. The screen showed footage from something called Survivor Island. Human contestants Danny Clark and Patricia Lewis had been dropped on a hostile planet with minimal supplies. They were competing to see who could endure the longest. This appears to be a game show, said Council Member Beltros, his slug-like body quivering with confusion. Exactly, Vorthek replied. They make military training look like fun. Watch how they behave. On screen, Danny Clark ate insects and drank water from muddy puddles. He built shelter from sticks and leaves. When a storm hit his makeshift camp, he laughed and called it exciting weather. Patricia Lewis, a suburban mother of 3, caught fish with her bare hands and started fires without matches. She treated every hardship like a puzzle to solve rather than a threat to survive. They are learning advanced survival skills, Vorthek explained, but they volunteer for this training. They compete for the chance to suffer. The aliens watched as more contestants arrived on the island. Teacher Karen Rodriguez smiled as she ate grubs. Accountant Paul Martinez grinned while building a water filter from sand and rocks. Each human adapted to the hostile environment within days. On my homeworld, whispered Council Member Fletch, such conditions would kill our strongest warriors in hours. These humans treat it like a vacation. Vorthek switched to new footage. The conditioning extends to their civilian population. Observe these so-called zombie apocalypse preparation groups. The screen showed humans gathering in a warehouse. Hardware store owner Rick Santos led the group through combat drills. Nurse Deborah Kim practiced treating injuries with limited medical supplies. Lawyer Michelle Cooper learned to use makeshift weapons. They train for fighting the undead, Vorthek continued. But undead creatures do not exist. This is clearly preparation for fighting other species. The aliens watched humans practice fighting, techniques against opponents that moved like shambling corpses. The humans called it fun and good exercise. They brought snacks and made it a social event. They are teaching their entire population military tactics, Vorthek said. Doctors, teachers, store owners, all learning combat skills during their leisure time. Office worker Brian Taylor practiced shooting targets shaped like humanoid figures. Stay-at-home mother Lisa Anderson learned to barricade buildings. Retired electrician George Martinez taught others how to disable electronic systems. Notice how they smile while learning to destroy infrastructure, Vorthek pointed out. They enjoy preparation for warfare. Council Leader Zendara's middle head frowned while her other 2 heads whispered to each other. This could be coincidence. Show us more evidence. Vorthek's cybernetic systems hummed with processing power. The final proof comes from their official military recruitment. The screen changed to show human military advertisements. Soldiers like Sergeant Alex Turner and Lieutenant Maria Garcia appeared in combat gear, operating dangerous equipment in hostile environments. But instead of looking grim and determined, they were smiling. Be all you can be, the advertisement proclaimed. Join the army. Vorthek's electronic voice dropped to an ominous whisper. Their military slogan translates to, become death incarnate, in the old Krillian war language. Gasps echoed through the council chamber. Several smaller species immediately activated their emergency beacons. They are not hiding their intentions, Vorthek continued. Their soldiers look happy about warfare. They advertise military service like it is desirable career choice. More advertisements played. Marines climbing mountains while grinning. Navy personnel operating submarines in crushing ocean depths while joking with each other. Air Force pilots flying at impossible speeds while whooping with joy. Observe their reaction to danger, Vorthek said. Normal species show fear, stress, or determination when facing death. Humans show excitement and pleasure. The footage showed Lieutenant Maria Garcia parachuting from aircraft into hostile territory. She was laughing as she fell through the sky toward enemy positions. She displays joy while approaching combat, Vorthek noted. This is not normal warrior behavior. This is the behavior of a species that has evolved beyond fear. Council member Kilrax, a peaceful herbivore species, began hyperventilating. They have turned their entire planet into a military training ground. Every dangerous activity is practice for conquest. Correct, Vorthek agreed. Their extreme sports teach aerial combat skills. Their survival shows teach adaptation to hostile worlds. Their zombie preparation teaches urban warfare tactics. The screen showed more evidence. Rock climber Ashley Torres scaling vertical cliff faces, training for assault operations. Snowboarder Ryan Mitchell navigating dangerous mountain slopes. Preparation for Arctic warfare. Deep-sea diver Emma Patterson exploring crushing ocean depths. Practice for underwater missions. They call it recreation, Vorthek said. But every human hobby develops skills useful for galactic warfare. They are creating a population of super soldiers who think fighting is entertainment. Council leader Zendara stood up, all three heads looking terrified. How many humans are there? Over 7 billion, Vorthek replied. And they reproduce quickly. Each generation grows up playing combat games, learning survival skills, and treating danger like fun. The council chamber erupted in panic. Representatives began shouting in dozens of languages. Emergency protocols activated across the galaxy. Military forces prepared for immediate deployment. Wait, called out Council Member Tilvara, an elderly, scholar species. Perhaps we should try to communicate with them first. Maybe we misunderstand their intentions. Vorthek's cybernetic laugh was a sound like grinding metal. Communication? They have been broadcasting their plans across the galaxy for years. They make movies about conquering other worlds. They write stories about spreading across the stars. They call it science fiction, but it is clearly strategic planning. What do you recommend? Asked Council Leader Zendara. Immediate defensive measures, Vorthek replied. Quarantine their solar system. Mobilize all available fleets. These humans are the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever encountered. Because they survived their death world? No, Vorthek said grimly. Because they enjoyed it. Emergency. Votes were called. Defense budgets doubled overnight. Ancient warships were pulled out of museums and retrofitted for combat. Species that had been at peace for centuries began preparing for the war they believed was coming. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans continued their normal activities. They surfed dangerous waves, climbed tall mountains, and jumped out of perfectly good airplanes. They had no idea that their hobbies had been interpreted as preparation for galactic domination. Danny Clark caught another fish on Survivor Island and smiled at the camera. Living the dream, he said happily. Across the galaxy, 47 different species prepared for the nightmare they thought was coming. Dr. Carl Johnson sat in the spaceship's meeting room, looking at 47 of the most terrified alien faces he had ever seen. The human ambassador was a former astronaut who had dreamed his whole life of meeting other species. He never imagined they would be this scared of humanity. Thank you for agreeing to this emergency meeting, said Council Leader Zendara, her three heads speaking carefully. We hope to resolve this situation peacefully. Dr. Johnson smiled, which made several aliens flinch backward. I'm not sure what situation you mean, but I'm happy to help. He had brought two companions. Dr. Nancy Wright was a child psychologist who studied how human children learned and played. Ian Parker was a documentary filmmaker who spent his life recording extreme sports and adventure activities. We know about your preparations, said intelligence analyst Vorthek, his cybernetic voice buzzing with accusation. Your species is training for galactic warfare. Dr. Johnson blinked in genuine confusion. I'm sorry, what? We're not training for anything like that. Do not lie, Vorthik continued. We have observed your survival programs, your combat preparation groups, your military conditioning disguised as entertainment. Dr. Nancy Wright leaned forward. I think there might be a misunderstanding here. Can you show us what you're talking about? The aliens displayed their evidence. Footage of humans on survival shows, zombie preparation groups, extreme sports, and military recruitment. Each clip showed humans smiling, laughing, or looking excited while doing dangerous things. Dr. Johnson watched the footage and started to understand. Oh my, you think we're preparing for war because we enjoy challenges. Enjoy? Council member Beltros quivered. You show pleasure while facing death. This is not normal behavior. Ian Parker pulled out his own recording device. May I show you something? I think this might help explain. He played footage from his extreme sports documentaries. Snowboarder Ashley Torres appeared on screen standing at the top of a dangerous mountain slope. Why do you do this? Ian's voice asked from behind the camera. Ashley grinned and looked out at the beautiful mountain view. Because it makes me feel alive. Because it's beautiful up here. Because when I make it down that slope, I'll know I can handle anything life throws at me. She pushed off and rode down the mountain, whooping with joy as she navigated around rocks and trees. When she reached the bottom safely, she raised her arms in victory. It's not about conquering anything, Ian explained to the aliens. It's about conquering fear, about pushing personal limits, about feeling fully alive. Dr. Nancy Wright activated her own presentation. Let me show you how human children develop. The screen showed footage of a playground. Children like 6-year-old Tommy Chen and 8-year-old Emma Davis played on swings, slides, and climbing equipment. Watch carefully, Dr. Wright said. See how the little girl approaches the tall slide? Emma stood at the bottom of a slide that was twice her height. She looked nervous but determined. Slowly, she climbed the ladder. At the top, she paused, clearly scared. She could choose the smaller slide, Dr. Wright pointed out. But she wants to try the big one. Emma took a deep breath and pushed herself down the slide. As she picked up speed, her expression changed from fear to excitement to pure joy. At the bottom, she immediately ran back to climb up again. This is how humans learn, Dr. Wright explained. We grow by facing challenges that are slightly beyond our comfort zone. The fear makes the accomplishment meaningful. The aliens watched more footage of children playing. Kids learning to ride bicycles, wobbling and falling but getting back up. Children playing tag, running and laughing as they chased each other. Your species calls this fun, observed Council Member Kilrax. Exactly, Dr. Wright smiled. We build confidence and skills through controlled exposure to manageable risks. What you saw as military training is actually just how we naturally develop. Dr. Johnson stood up and moved to the center of the room. Let me explain about our survival. Shows in extreme sports. He gestured to the footage still playing on the screens. We don't do these things to prepare for war. We do them because our brains release chemicals called endorphins when we overcome challenges. It literally makes us happy. Happy? Council. Leader Zendara's middle head tilted in confusion. Yes. When a human surfs a big wave or climbs a mountain or even plays a challenging game, our bodies reward us with feelings of joy and accomplishment. We're not training to fight anyone. We're just enjoying being alive. Ian Parker played more of his documentary footage. Rock climber Ryan Mitchell appeared, hanging from a cliff face hundreds of feet above the ground. Aren't you afraid of falling? Ian's voice asked. Ryan paused in his climb, sweat on his face but a smile in his eyes. Terrified, he admitted. But that's what makes it worth doing. The fear keeps me focused. The challenge makes me better. And when I reach the top, I'll have earned one of the most beautiful views on Earth. He climbs mountains for the view, whispered Council Member Fletch. Among other reasons, Dr. Johnson nodded. Beauty, personal growth, the satisfaction of accomplishment, the joy of pushing limits. We don't see our world as hostile. We see it as home. These activities aren't survival training. They're living. Dr. Nancy Wright played footage of a children's birthday party. 6-year-old Jessica Murphy blew out candles on her cake while her parents Robert and Linda smiled proudly. You observed this ritual and thought we were training children to fight fire, Dr. Wright said gently. But we're actually celebrating life. The candles represent years lived. Blowing them out is symbolic of making wishes for the future. The bow? Aliens stared at the happy family scene with new understanding. Your zombie preparation groups? Dr. Johnson continued. That's called role-playing. Humans enjoy pretending to face imaginary challenges. It's social bonding combined with problem-solving games. The zombies aren't real. Not real? Vortex, cybernetic systems hummed with confusion. Completely fictional, Ian Parker confirmed. Like characters in a story, humans enjoy testing themselves against imaginary dangers because it's safe practice for handling real problems. Dr. Johnson pulled up footage of everyday human activities. Firefighter Roy Martinez rescuing a cat from a tree while smiling. Teacher Helen Murphy reading stories to children during a storm warning. Lifeguard Sam Rodriguez saving swimmers looking happy to help. This is what humans actually do, Dr. Johnson said. We help each other. We take care of our families. We solve problems. We find joy in ordinary moments. Council leaders Endara's three heads whispered to each other before speaking. So when your military advertisements say, be all you can be, they mean become the best version of yourself, Dr. Johnson finished. Develop your potential. Serve your community. It's about personal growth, not conquest. The council chamber fell silent as the aliens processed this information. Finally, the elderly scholar Tulvara spoke up. So humans do not see their world as a death world to escape. They see it as a home to enjoy. Exactly, Dr. Johnson smiled. We don't survive Earth. We live on Earth. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Every risk is a chance to feel fully alive. Every day is an adventure. Dr. Nancy Wright played one final video. Children from around the world playing different games, laughing together, helping each other, learning new things. All of them looked happy. This is what we're really training our children for, she said softly. Not war, not conquest, just life. Beautiful, challenging, joyful life. The Galactic Council voted that same day to reclassify Earth. It was no longer labeled as a death world. Instead, it became the galaxy's first official joy world, a planet where the dominant species had learned to find happiness in facing adversity. Within a year, alien tourists were visiting Earth in specially protected suits, cautiously watching humans teach their children to ride bicycles and build sandcastles. The first extraterrestrial theme park opened in Florida, where alien visitors could safely observe humans having fun. Commander Zixhall, who had started it all with his first confused report, became Earth's official alien liaison. He often stood on the beach watching humans surf during storms, his crystal spikes glowing with something that might have been wonder. We thought they had conquered death, he said to his assistant one day as they watched children play in the waves. Instead, they taught death how to dance. On Earth, humans continued doing what they had always done. They climbed mountains because they were there. They surfed waves because they were fun. They helped their neighbors because it felt good. They never knew they had become the strangest, most wonderful species the galaxy had ever discovered.